I never thought moving into a quiet, tree-lined neighborhood would teach me so much about power, arrogance, and patience. When I signed the papers on my little house 3 years ago, all I wanted was space, privacy, and a few acres where I could unwind. I'd worked overtime for months to afford it and splurged on a cherry red ATV that became my weekend escape. That machine wasn't just a toy, it was my therapy after long weeks at work. I'd wash it until it gleamed, keep it locked in my shed, and sometimes just sit on it to feel the freedom it promised. I didn't know that freedom was about to be violated by the one neighbor everyone whispered about. The HOA president everyone called Karen, though her real name was Linda. From the start, she radiated authority. Her voice carried at meetings, her eyes scanned like a metal detector for rule infractions. The HOA newsletter was full of rules: trash cans hidden, fences limited to 3 feet, no unsightly equipment in view. Rules she herself broke without consequence. Her fence was 5 feet high. Her trash can sat at the curb for days. Everyone resented her, but nobody challenged her. She had a 19-year-old son, Dylan, the kind of kid who thought the world owed him. Loud exhaust, late-night parties, the smug grin of someone who'd never been told no and believed he never would be. They were the neighborhood's unholy alliance, the queen and her spoiled prince. At first, I tried to keep my head down. I waved, I nodded, I complied with the silly rules. Inside, though, I watched. I watched Dylan race through stop signs. I watched Karen's friendly reminders escalate to threats when neighbors pushed back. There was an aura of invincibility about them, like they were the untouchables of our little suburb. It wasn't my fight until it became my property. It happened on a Friday evening in early spring. The air smelled of cut grass and gasoline, the sun throwing orange across my yard. I came home tired but eager for a ride, only to see the padlock on my shed dangling, cut clean through. The door stood ajar like a wound. My chest went cold. The ATV was gone. For a moment I thought I was imagining it, that maybe I'd parked it by the barn, but the tracks in the gravel told the story. Someone had rolled it right out. My heartbeat slammed against my ribs. Months of saving, hours of maintenance. Gone. I called the sheriff's office, voice shaking but steady enough to give details. While a deputy took my statement, I heard it, the unmistakable growl of my engine. Down the street came Dylan, no helmet, beer can in hand, my ATV beneath him. He gunned it into his mother's driveway and cut the engine with a flourish. The smirk on his face made my blood feel like steam. That was my machine. My sanctuary. He sat there like he'd just bought it. I stepped forward, palms sweating, trying to keep my voice even. "That's my ATV," I said. Dylan shrugged, eyes full of boredom. Karen emerged on the porch, arms crossed, nails gleaming. "You're mistaken," she purred. "This belongs to my son. And even if it didn't, you can't prove anything. We're protected." She said protected like it was a spell. The deputy raised an eyebrow, but without visible VIN or paperwork in hand, he couldn't do much. Dylan revved the engine and shouted, "Untouchable, bro!" before peeling off again, gravel spraying. That night, I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his smirk, heard that word, untouchable, like a dare. My hands trembled not just from anger, but from the feeling of being violated. My safe space had been breached, my property paraded like a trophy in front of me. I paced the floor, planning. My dad's voice echoed in my mind. "Paper trails win wars." I was going to build one. Over the next week, I became an archivist of my own life. I dug out the purchase receipt, the registration papers, maintenance invoices, photos of me with the ATV. I took close-ups of the cut lock, the tire tracks leading straight to their driveway, and most damning of all, screenshots of Dylan's public Instagram, where he'd posted videos of himself doing donuts on his new ride. In one caption, he even wrote, "Karen's kid can't be touched." The irony was so sharp it hurt. I printed everything, date-stamped and organized, and walked it into the sheriff's office. The detective's eyes lit up when he saw the Instagram clip. "This is gold," he said. They opened a full theft investigation. Meanwhile, I played the role of the defeated neighbor. I didn't confront them. I didn't post online. I let them believe they'd scared me off. Inside, though, my anger had cooled into something harder, sharper. Every time I heard that engine in the distance, I pictured the moment when the law would catch up. My patience was my weapon now. Karen, oblivious, doubled down. She sent me a letter citing unsightly items in my yard, threatened fines, and at one point smirked at me across the cul-de-sac like a cat toying with a mouse. Dylan continued his joyrides, beer in hand, filming himself for likes. He didn't know every post was another nail in his own coffin. I said nothing. I documented everything. 2 weeks later, on a cool Saturday at dawn, I woke to the flash of red and blue light strobing through my blinds. My heart thudded as I pulled back the curtain. 3 patrol cars in front of Karen's house. Officers at the door. Dylan stumbling out in pajama pants, hands cuffed behind him. Karen screaming, hair wild, pointing at my house as if she could transfer blame with a gesture. The sight was better than any alarm clock. They'd found my ATV in her garage, still with my VIN etched beneath a sloppy coat of spray paint, still carrying my custom decal half scraped off. Possession, grand theft, tampering, the works. Neighbors came out in bathrobes pretending to check mail, but really to witness the downfall. Some whispered, some smiled. People who'd been bullied by Karen for years finally saw cracks in her armor. The queen was dethroned. Dylan was loaded into a patrol car, eyes wide, the smirk gone. Karen's voice rose to a shriek as she argued with the officers, but the badge doesn't bend to HOA titles. She looked small on that porch, powerless. When I got the ATV back a week later, a little scratched but still running, I ran my hand over the handlebars and felt a wave of relief and vindication. The deputy told me Dylan was facing multiple charges, and because of prior offenses, real jail time was likely. Investigators were also looking into whether Karen had helped conceal the stolen property. Suddenly, Untouchable didn't mean much at all. The sweetest part wasn't just the legal victory. It was the shift in the neighborhood. People started greeting me differently, like I'd done what they'd been too afraid to do. The next HOA meeting was silent. Karen sat in the corner, lips pressed thin, eyes darting. No more smug letters, no more threats. Her power was gone, eroded by her own arrogance. I remember standing on my porch one evening, the ATV parked safely beside me, and hearing the quiet. No revving engines, no shouted parties, just crickets and the faint smell of cut grass. I breathed in and felt something unclench in my chest. Not gloating, not even anger. Just justice, a long, slow exhale of it. She had tried to make me feel powerless in my own home. She had tried to weaponize her position and my politeness. But patience, paperwork, and the truth had flipped the script. The system she thought she controlled turned on her, and I got to stand there, calm, composed, while her empire of intimidation crumbled. Sometimes revenge isn't about yelling or fighting back. It's about letting arrogance trip over itself, about building a quiet case while the other side digs its own grave. They wanted to show they were above the rules. Instead, they became the cautionary tale of our neighborhood. And as I sit on my ATV now, engine humming under a sunset sky, I know one thing for sure. No one is truly untouchable. If you've ever been underestimated by someone who thinks the rules don't apply to them, take a breath and remember this story. Patience and persistence can be louder than any confrontation. And if this story gave you chills, hit that like button and tell us in the comments what's the most satisfying dose of karma you've ever seen. Don't forget to subscribe for more real-life revenge stories that prove even the untouchable can fall.